kiss you.
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah! You want to run or you want to duck down? You want to duck, just go over and get onto the bench and stay there.
You play to win the game.
My message for the fans, we're all frustrated with where we are right now.
Jets. Yes, here we go, Gunny. This is the Thursday thick of it. I am GreenBean, and I am happy to be here with all of you guys. We have a crazy week to discuss. Out of nowhere, we have some news that I think most of us weren't expecting it to get to this point. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about the resurgence of the monster man of the offensive line. One player that a lot of us thought should be able to stabilize the whole unit. We'll talk about him. We'll also talk about some injuries and going into the Giants with all of our starters starting. Can you imagine that? I am excited to get into the Thursday thick of it with you. But before we do, let me check in and see how our co-host is doing. Mr. Gunny, what's cooking over there?
I'm good, man. I'm just as shocked as you and Jetnation in regards to what transpired this week. I think that none of us saw it coming. I know it's kind of caused a little bit of disarray amongst, the fan base, and some who think it's no big deal, others who think it's the end of the world, and then there's a couple of us in between who know the Jets, got a little bit worse by losing Davis. But hey, I can only imagine whatever the situation is, it had to be bigger than football. And I think I got to respect the man that's 28 years old in his prime, willing to walk with him $10.5 million for the sake of, whatever it is, whatever the personal situation is. I wish him nothing but the best. But, man, it shocked me that was the news we got. That was the big news of the week when they came to the New York Jets is this news.
Yeah, Finnegan is in the Beanbagger Discord, which, by the way, if you want to get in on that with us, the link is in the description to join the Beanbaggers. He put in there, Corey Davis retires. And the response was like, ha, 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 ha. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, get out of here. He's like, I'm not kidding. And somebody's like, no, you're joking. No, I'm not joking. And then he put up the post from Corey Davis. It was all eloquent with the picture, I was like, holy cow, this is actually real. So I want you to know, I second what you just said. I really do. Like, whatever's going on with the man obviously supersedes our fandom and all that kind of stuff. Clearly. Nice. But it sounded like everybody was healthy and, he's grateful for his beautiful wife and his healthy daughters, and that's good news. But the only thing I'll throw out there is that you've been in football for a long time, buddy. You've been in the NFL for a long time. You've been on the Jets for now 3 years. You see that this is our first chance to crack the egg, and since you've been here, can you maybe do this before, 18 days before the freaking season starts, bro?
Yeah.
Can we have a little help?
I think that was the most frustrating part about it. It's not that we don't understand as a fan base. And I think when Coach Salas did his press conference talking about, he wishes them well and whatnot, that there was something more to it that had me, again, going down a rabbit hole, but we're not going to do that here because we don't know what it is. Again, just wishing them the best. But, bro, 2 weeks before the season starts, and you've been thinking about this since freaking OTAs, I think that was the only thing that hit me a little bit freaking negatively was
we call that a rub, right?
Yeah,
rubbed you
there it is.
A little
rubbed
bit.
Me the wrong way. Yep.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, me too, man. And that's the whole thing. Now, you have to believe that the Jets knew at least something, right? I mean, Salah's been kind of, he's been badmintoning questions for a little bit. He's like, hey, we don't have a timeline and this and that. But it's like, dude, we got rid of Elijah Moore. We got rid of Denzel Mims. We have a couple undrafted free agents running around. And we were kind of maybe dependent on this guy. People say, he was maybe his wide receiver 4. It doesn't matter. He's a stud wide receiver 4.
Yeah. I'm appalled by anyone who thinks he was anything less than our wide receiver too. But that's been such a heated debate amongst our fan base that that's just like, you know what, we have our opinions. It is what it is. But literally with more talent, you know what I'm saying? Alan Lazard had more talent. Nicole Harder with more talent has never sniffed the ceiling that we saw in Corey Davis when he had Tannehill as his quarterback. So I don't understand the logic as to why people just think that he was going to be, you know, bottom of the barrel wide receiver. He was arguably the second best or second most talented and accomplished wide receiver we had on our roster, and now he's
no
gone.
doubt. Yeah, I mean, look, to me, the honest truth for me is I don't really care wide receiver 2 versus wide receiver 5. You know, that to me doesn't, you know, it's like the, you know, like years ago when I was a youngster, Gunny, and you can relate. You're not my age, but you're not. Oh, I lost him. Who am I talking to? I guess I'm going to talk to the Jet Show, Mr. Show. That's who I'm going to talk. Oh, here he is. I'm still talking to you, though, Mr. Show.
Yeah, I heard you, but then the screen went dark. That was weird.
Well, years ago, Gunny, when I was a young tyke, starter meant something. You know what I mean? Like, it was like you're the starter. That meant you played, I don't know, 85%, 95% of the game. Now, starter means you're just part of the package that they started with. You could be the starter and get less time than the guy who comes in after you. It's all about the game plan. It's a very different landscape in the NFL than it used to be. So, you know, wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4, 2, it doesn't matter to me anymore. No matter how you sliced it, just like you said it very well. You got Nicole Hardman, you got Alan Lazard, you got Corey Davis as the accomplished receivers. Garrett Wilson, yes, rookie of the year, but it's 1 year. You know what I mean?
Correct.
And we're all high on him. We all have high hopes. We're all psyched. But the truth is, it's been 1 year. So when we talk about what they've done in the NFL, Corey Davis, he's done more than, everybody except Nicole Hardman, really. So losing him is definitely interesting. Now, I put a poll question up there for you guys. How much does his retirement impact the team? So let us know what you think, and we'll get that done in a few minutes, and then we will move on to another poll question in a little bit. I want to get to E-Boogie. E-Boogie jumped in here. E-Boogie, who's also a fantastic beanbagger and a stream beaner whenever the hell YouTube lets that come back. Are you an OnlyFans? Let me see here. Is he an OnlyFans? A Talking Jets OnlyFans? I can't tell. But anyway, so he has a question here, and it's interesting. Gunny, who do you want now? Now you see what's going on with our team. We're kind of, we're getting a greater understanding of what we have. We're going into the final preseason game and going into the season in a very short time.
Right.
If you could sign one, who you going for? Offensive tackle, linebacker, or wide receiver, and why?
Well, I'll say this. I think that I feel more comfortable now with our linebacker group than I did before the preseason, being able to go ahead and see these guys. Sherwood definitely taking strides that I don't think we were expecting, and then Zaire Barnes kind of having a hell of a camp and then showing out in preseason. I feel better about the linebackers. I really do. With CJ Mosley leading those guys, I think they're going to go ahead and be more than adequate to go ahead and play that middle of the field. Offensive tackle. You asked me last week. I'm freaking out, you know what I'm saying, about our right tackle position. And I would have wanted to go that route. But I don't think there's anybody on the free agent wire that makes any sense. One of the guys that a lot of us were all talking about was Josh Johnson, offensive tackle for the Arizona Cardinals, but he just got traded today to the Houston Texans for a 5th rounder. I would have loved if that was us that went and got him. Somebody with freaking viable reps as a starter in this league would be a great swing tackle for us, but now he's off the market. So in terms of offensive tackle, we would have to go ahead and see who shakes free from a team when they get down to cut day. But in all actuality, I'm at wide receiver. I think our wide receiver went from being good to great to mid to average, right? I think after Garrett Wilson, if Garrett Wilson goes down, this is a bottom 5, bottom 10 wide receiver room. Can Aaron Rodgers make it work? Sure. He can make it work, but we didn't bring him here to have to go ahead and elevate an entire freaking offense. We wanted him to come here to go ahead and be the guy who directs the offense. We're trying to make his job easier. We've seen him have to elevate freaking the Green Bay Packers for several years, and it hasn't worked out too well. I'm not saying Aaron Rodgers can't do it, but we shouldn't want him to have to do it. So for me, it's wide receiver. You know, where can we go and potentially acquire somebody? I don't like any of the free agent candidates. I mean, Julio Jones, Jarvis Landry, like these guys are still free agents for a reason. They're clearly washed. And I think we look at a situation to where now, if we can bring in somebody who's on the roster bubble, somebody who's, you know, not going to potentially could be a trade candidate or maybe even a cut candidate, I'm all about it. But I am also keen on seeing what we have in-house. I do like freaking Malik Taylor. I like freaking Brownlee. I mean, I love Jerome Cap now. You know what I'm saying? Even Eminem retweeted his freaking performance today. So a fan of him. But I just think that we need another body in that wide receiver room. And whether it's Mike Evans, whether it's freaking Devontae Adams, I think Hunter Renfrow is a very, very undervalued potential target that, you know, was being shopped around by Oakland. I'm sorry, I keep saying Oakland, by the Raiders in the offseason. So that's somebody that is a 1,000-yard receiver that's still in his mid-20s with a 70% plus catch rate. Like, I like that. He runs crisp routes. He can catch the ball. He can create separation, get open. I like that. So there's a couple of options out there, and we got to trust JD. I think JD's going to figure it out. But if I had to pick one of these things, I think for me now, wide receiver has jumped to being a need for the New York Jets.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting question, E-Boogie. You know, I think I like a lot of what you said, and I would have been happy to see the Jets go and throw a late-round pick for Josh Jones. I mean, I like Josh Jones.
I can't believe we didn't do that.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like when DeAndre Hopkins got traded from the from the Texans. I was like, why? Why aren't we in on a second-round pick for DeAndre Hopkins, you know? But maybe, you know, who knows, right? Who knows what the dynamics are and all that stuff. But you have to believe that Joe Douglas at least is, you know, that he's at least aware that this stuff is going on. I liked Josh Jones coming out. I liked him a lot, actually. So I don't know. It would be interesting. If I had to pick one, if I had to pick one position that the Jets could grab an upgrade, it would be tackle for me. And not for starting tackle, but somebody, dude, we have an injured left tackle and we have a perpetually injured right tackle. If Mekhi Becton is in fact our right tackle, which I think he is. And I'm hoping they can play all year. We saw that Dwayne Brown played all year last year with an injury. So he's kind of an Iron Man. It's likely his last year, so I could see him muscling through some stuff by choice. That all said, I would really love like a more established reserve, right, than Billy Turner and Max Mitchell. I like Max Mitchell. I don't know. He kind of lost a little bit of ground this training camp, right? He really did.
Yeah.
He's looking good, and he's kind of taking a hit. But I'll tell you, wide receiver is now right behind that, you know, as far as the position that I would like. And I think there are options, and I think Joe Douglas is going to go that way. Although, like you said, I think the Jets do like what they have in Brownlee, Malik Taylor, and even Little Gibson. You know, I don't know, Irv Charles, his stock dropped earlier in OTA. Yeah, they liked him. He was looking good. But I'll tell you, man, I sure could use a little Denzel Mimsy poo right about now. I'd feel a little bit better. But the Jets are done, I think. They're not going to revisit that. I mean, it just is what it is. So let's go ahead and end this poll, and then we'll get to – I see Douglas. Douglas has a super chat, and we'll get to some more. I'm going to go ahead and end the poll. So here's how it was carved out, Gunny. I said, how much does Corey Davis's retirement hurt the Jets season? A little tiny bit, a pretty big bit, not one bit, and this is devastating bit. All right. So we have 53% said a little tiny bit. I'm surprised at you, Jets fans. I have to admit, Now 28% said a pretty big bit. 15% said not one. But I don't know why it's out of order like that. I guess it did it numerically.
Yeah.
And then only 2% feel that this is a devastating happening for us.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of leaning toward a lot. Like, I think this is a big friggin' deal. Like, God forbid there's an injury to either Hardman or Wilson. Like you said, we're bottom end wide receiver core. Now, we're going to talk tonight, everybody, about some potential solutions, right? There are free agent wide receivers out there, some of which I believe could help, maybe, right? But there are also other creative ways. There was somebody in the Beanbagger Discord that said, jokingly, Bam Knight changed his position to wide receiver, so he's a lock, No, I don't know about that, but it's not too far off on some of the ideas that maybe the Jets could explore. So we'll talk about that stuff. But it seems like the poll, people are not really all that worried, Gunny, which is surprising to me.
Yeah, but it after my initial reaction to it, which was of course, my God, it's the New York Jets. We can't have nice things.
Yeah,
I'm thinking we're going down a rabbit hole of just devastation. You sit back and you kind of look at it and you see that this is going to be an improved roster from where we were at just 3-4 years ago, 2018, 2019. You think about that and you're like, we've had it worse. we've had it significantly worse and made it work. And then you look at Aaron Rodgers, who's also been able to elevate a lot of unproven guys in the league and made them, viable. We do have Aaron Rodgers now as our quarterback, and he is able to go ahead and make this game a little bit easier for the offense. And I think when you sit back and look at it, we do have some options, right? We have a running back room that's got Dalvin Cook in it, Michael Carter in it, and Breece Hall in it. And by the way, Michael Carter didn't miss a single pass during freaking preseason, apparently, based off of I forget who it was that posted.
Based off some nerd.
Yeah,
nerd
counting all the targets and catches he had, right? So and then you look at the tight end room as well, right? We've got Conklin, we've got Uzama, we've got Rucker, right? Like, does this now mean we can legitimately keep a guy like Kuntz, as a project on the roster? Keep a guy like Yeboah now? Because before we were all thinking 3 potential tight ends. So the thing is, Joe has built such an incredible roster of talent that we can kind of hide this deficiency. Yes, the wide receiver room now is definitely more of a mid, like portion on the roster. We can't argue about it. But as long as Garrett Wilson is out there, we have a legitimate number 1 wide receiver, right?
Yeah.
And that speaks volumes. If the funny thing is, as long as Garrett can give us 17 plus games this season, this is nothing. I do believe it's nothing. I think Garrett Wilson being in this roster still makes it good enough for the wide receiver room. But like you said, if God forbid we have to go ahead and play a couple of games without him or McCall Hardman, this is a bad wide receiver room. This is not a playoff caliber wide receiver room. We'll put it that way.
But you brought something up though, Gunny. Look, while that is the case, and I want to just comment on Douglas McClure's super chat while we go into this. He said, having a player unexpectedly announce retirement out of the blue can be called bad luck.
Facts.
I mean, it's very Jetsy, Douglas, isn't it? Like, a lot's been going well for us.
Yep.
Even as recently as signing Dalvin Cook and Breece Hall's back, and he looks
escaping
bouncy.
Some injury scares.
Right. Well, we're getting Ruckert back. We're getting all these guys back. Right. The Izzy Abanikanda. I mean, dude, in years past, that's a torn knee. You know what I mean? And it's a thigh bruise. Like, okay, all right. You know what I mean? Like, so things have been going well. So it's like it's a holdover from how things go for us. And it's kind of bullshit. So we got to see how the Jets respond here. To really kind of get past it, right? Are we established enough to get past it? But you brought something up, which is maybe you could not worry so much about the wide receivers, right? We do have Garrett Wilson, Alan Lazard. We got Mecole Hardman, who's
got Randall Cobb, Alan Lazard.
Well, then you got so then that's thin. Them right after them, I'm like the other guy. Oh shit, yeah, they're gone. But you could potentially hide some of that with the strength of the tight ends and running backs. Aaron Rodgers loves tight ends, loves running backs, and we happen to have, an abundance, right?
Yep.
We have like even guys you mentioned, Kuntz and Yeboah. So maybe instead of force feeding a sixth wide receiver on the team, maybe you hold an extra tight end. Maybe you actually do it that way. And if you don't like Bam Knight, no matter, even if Izzy's out for 4 weeks or something like that, you don't love Bam Knight, anymore. You want to put him on the practice squad and let him simmer. Maybe Yeboah does make the roster. He's been having a very, very strong training camp. He's been injured the last week and a half, I think, or so, which is unfortunate, man, because he was really making a statement. But maybe he makes the roster. Don't forget, Kenny Yeboah was a wide receiver for 3 years in college until he started, he transferred, he made the switch over to tight end, gained the weight and all that jazz, and then spent the 5th year in Ole Miss to kind really entrench himself as a tight end candidate. But maybe, just maybe, he's a pass catching, tight end, but can sort of fill and and take away a little bit of that wide receiver void. That would be interesting too. There are options. We have talent on the team. Just because it's not all that wide receiver doesn't mean that we can't still get the job done. What's the object, right? The object is to move the chains. That's what we want to do. Yeah. Tight ends and running backs, beautiful.
They do that too.
They do that, right, Gunny?
Yep.
So I don't know.
Yeah. You know what I think it is? I think it's we all have gotten spoiled with the you got to have 2 number 1 wide receivers crap that we've encountered over the last few years. You see it on the Dolphins, you see it on the Bengals, you see it on the Eagles. The Chargers have been doing it for a little while. So I think it's kind of like changed the mindset of what football is, right? It's supposed to be the best 11 guys on the field. Right. And a lot of times we're thinking the wide receiver position needs to be stacked, but tight ends can catch now in this league. The Chiefs just won a Super Bowl last year with no number 1 tight end. I mean, Juju is more of a number 3, and they were able to win with Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes connection. So it's one of those things where the doom and gloom is based off of looking across the way in our division and seeing Tua have Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. Seeing the Bengals have T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, right? Like those things, you look at it and you're like, Jesus, man, how are we going to beat these guys? They've got 2 wide receiver ones, but in all actuality, neither of those teams made it to the Super Bowl last year. And the Eagles made it to the Super Bowl last year, having Devontae and, of course, A.J. Brown. They lost, right? So, like, it's one of those things where I think we've been conditioned to look at that wide receiver thing and be like, you got to have 2, 1A and 1B, because that's what's happening now. It's a passing league. Tight ends catch the ball. Running backs catch the ball. It is a passing league, but we do have talent in other positions that I think can kind of hide that we have a wide receiver 1 and then a wide receiver 3 and a couple of 4s in that room.
Well, it's a great point, man. I mean, there's more than one way to skin a cat, as they say.
Yep.
And as long as you have guys that can get open, catch the ball, and move those damn chains, then you're going to be okay. And like is being said in the chat, Aaron Rodgers, and this came out of Hard Knocks, which I thought was fascinating, by the way, with Cobby saying, like, look, dude, Aaron Rodgers needs to trust you.
Yeah. One
time, if you're not in the right place what do you say? He said he doesn't like to throw interceptions, man.
Yep.
So if you're the guy that's going to, increase his potential for he's not throwing to you. That's it. It's over. Which is, I think, one of the reasons why little Mimsy, isn't here. That trust wasn't there, right?
And we saw it on Hard Knocks, right? We literally, when Kuntz caught a touchdown pass, we're all celebrating. Aaron Rodgers is like, he ran the wrong route. Ran the wrong route, got the ball. That's what we're doing. Like, you can tell he was trying to.
How wonderful.
You can tell he worked very hard to not come out like, hey, you fucked this up. You ran the wrong route. You can tell he was like, he ran the wrong route. He joked about it, but you can tell it irked him. So I think Cobb saying that wasn't. It shouldn't be a shock for us, but of course you're seeing individuals already making a big deal about it. That he's afraid to talk to the wide receivers, so he's having Cobb do all his dirty work. I'm sick and tired of people at this point when it comes to hating on the Jets. But it's true though. The guy has one of the highest TD to interception ratios of all time, and it's not even close. A 4-to-1 TD to interception ratio. The next closest person right now, I think, is Patrick Mahomes at a 3-to-1, which is still pretty good. But 4-to-1 that's just insane. And I think he cares about that. He hates making mistakes. And you see him trying to go ahead and not show it right now on camera. And of course, getting here to the Jets, understanding it's a bunch of new guys. But I think it slipped a little bit when Kuntz ran the wrong route, caught the ball, even though it was a touchdown. He couldn't let it go. He had to keep saying it, and then told Kuntz as well. So
that's right, man.
He's a perfectionist.
Letting him know that's not good enough.
Yep, exactly.
Just because you ended up like landing in the promised land doesn't mean that that's good enough.
Exactly.
I love it.
Exactly.
I'm
a big fan. Huge fan of that.
Yeah. So Hank talking about Mims is a contender, not a competitor. That also came out of the episode. That was interesting. I'm telling you, man, I'm with you. Blitz Crew checking in. Thank you, buddy. He says wide receiver core went from solid to mediocre. Maybe trade for Devin Duvernay for wide receiver 3 or 4. Queen might be gettable. Give Bryce Hall and the day 3 pick for both. I hate to see Bryce Hall go, but I'm with you. Well, let's talk about that. Let's bring in some of the free agents that are out there, and then we can talk about maybe trade targets. So listen to this. Blitz Crew, what do you think of this group? I'm going to put it in the chat right now, and I'm going to get your comment off there, but we're still talking to you. Okay, buddy. So let's do this. So here's the top free agents. Okay. And I'm surprised he didn't put Andre Roberts in there, Finnegan. What are you doing, buddy? Andre Roberts is out there. So this is Finnegan sending us the goods. We have Kenny Golladay, Julio Jones, Jarvis Landry, Sammy Watkins, Rashard Higgins, Anthony Schwartz, who hasn't been cut yet. So any of those names, Gunny, turn you on?
No, I'm limp as can be
right
now.
As a 4?
The only person that I think if we were going to do that I would be okay with bringing in is Jarvis Landry. Julio Jones was great in his heyday, but ever since he had those pins put in his feet, he's been a shell of a wide receiver, let alone himself. Kenny Golladay, I'll pass. Like, what are we going to do? Pay this dude to just sit on IR for the season? That's a hard pass for me. Sammy Watkins, love the name, but again, another guy who's been often injured. I look at this, and I'd rather take the chances with our young guys. I look at these guys, and I think to myself, okay, cool, let's go with Brownlee or freaking Gibson or freaking Malik. Like, let's go with one of our young guys and give them an opportunity over these guys because yes, those guys have name recognition, but the last couple of years of them being on a roster have proven that they're done. Like they're cooked. Like, and at this point, we'd be bringing them in just to add a body. But Jarvis Landry, if you had to put a gun on my head and I had to put one of these guys on the roster, I think Jarvis Landry's the only person that I would look at here and say, yeah, let's bring in Jarvis. Yeah,
Sorry, I'm muted. Jarvis Landry would be interesting. I'm with you, man. I mean, Julio Jones is washed, and I see a comment, talking about that, and I agree. He's done, right? Yeah. He's a great wide receiver. He's toast. Golladay, he's not that old. I think he's 30.
I think he's 30.
So, I don't know, man. He fell off a cliff when he went to the Giants. Exactly. But if you can get him on a cheap contract, I don't know, wide receiver 4. But, the rest of the list is kind of spotty. Let's do that. Let's talk about this now. So we have some former Jets out there, everybody. So we have this group. Andre Roberts, there he is. Finnegan's thorough. Jeff Smith is out there. At least LaFleur loved Jeff Smith, and we know that. Mimsy Boy is out there. Greg Dortch, Jamison Crowder. These guys could potentially be available. So what do you think about that? You want to bring Jamison Crowder back? Maybe a little Greg Dortch action. He got cut here unceremoniously as a guy that's a little bit too small, is not going to make it, but he's made his impact over there in Arizona.
He has.
What do you think?
Honestly, looking at this, Jamison Crowder, I wouldn't mind having him back. Like I was a fan of Jamison Crowder too. Like this was our number one receiver. I mean, that wasn't saying much because we were in talent hell as an organization. But Jamison Crowder was a professional. I think he brought his best foot forward when he came to into games, and he wound up getting cut. I believe he wouldn't take a restructured contract, so they let him go instead. And Jamison Crowder is somebody that I would like to see with freaking Aaron Rodgers. If you're telling me I got to pick one of these guys, but again, if we're talking about these guys or the youth we currently have, give me the youth with the guys. I'm gonna take a chance with Brownlee, Gibson, and Malik before I would go with any of these guys. But yeah, but I'm a homer for Jamison Crowder, so I don't know if that means it's going to be a great idea. I just know I like Jamison, so I would give him a shot.
Yeah, and that's how I am with Mimsy. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, dude, it's open. It's the door's open, but dude, they don't like him. So it is what it is. At this point. Yeah. Johnny Jimenez saying, "What's up? What's up, Johnny? Good to see you."
What's up, Johnny? How you doing, brother?
Yeah. Oh, look, Rusty Spooner changed his name a little bit. Added some savage action to it. I don't like Corey, but it's a big deal, especially the timing. I agree, dude.
Yeah.
And that's I think that's a good way to say it. I mean, I wasn't anti-Corey. I mean, he's obviously talented, but he had those drops and he had the injury thing. He was always, he was out 4 games a year minimum.
Yeah.
And he had the uncanny ability when he was going to drop the ball. He just likes to pop it up into the air. He loves it. He loves it to pop off his shoulder, his plate, and just fly it in the air, and it's a pick. He loves it. So, I mean, there's a kind of a hit and miss with him, which I don't know, dude, but it's still a big deal. I thought, Aaron Rodgers was going to be able to get a lot out of him.
Yeah. So
it's unfortunate. Leo checking in. Hey, guys, don't forget cuts will be coming around the league. Who knows? Somebody good might fall to us, but I still believe, call me crazy, Davante Adams by the trade deadline when the Raiders are tanking. You know what sucks about that, though, Leo? That's not week 1. You know what I mean?
No.
I want to beat the Bills. That's what I want.
Yeah. The first, I think, 9 games of this season it's the hardest part of our schedule. The first 9 games are the hardest part of our schedule. It's brutal. And I get it. Trade deadline sounds great, but man, if we could have not even an impact player, but just somebody who can go ahead and round out the wide receiver room before we go ahead and go into freaking attack mode against the most difficult schedule in the league. I would prefer it, but I do believe there's something about the Davante Adams to the Jets thing. They've been terrible, just freaking terrible in training camp. Jimmy Garoppolo looks like a shell of a quarterback. Like, I don't know if he's not 100% healthy, but he it's been bad. It's been bad. But again, though, I've been saying this for a long time. I think Josh McDaniels, a great offensive coordinator, terrible head coach. This is his second opportunity, and I think it's his last opportunity to go ahead and get a shot in the NFL as a head coach. But some people are just built to be coordinators. We're seeing that with Todd Bowles. Great defensive coordinator, horrible head coach. Josh McDaniel, great offensive coordinator, horrible head coach. And I think after this season, he'll be let go. But it wouldn't surprise me on his way out he does some dumb stuff before he gets fired. And we could probably get a Davante Adams for a pretty nice deal. So I'm hoping he does something stupid like stake around for a little bit just so we can get Davante Adams before he gets fired next season. But the Raiders look like trash, and it's sad too because they actually have talent.
They do. Well, and we talked about it, a little bit before the stream started, right? So, there are articles out there, lots of chatter on Twitter. Hunter Renfrew.
Yes.
What do you think? Is that
love
real? I mean, can he really be let go here?
Yes, and I say that because he was shopped around during the offseason. No takers, and I don't know why. Buffalo Jets fan has a saying. I'm not going to say that. Here. You know what I'm saying? Where
Say it. Just give him credit.
He says that the problem with Hunter Renfrow, as much production as he has, is because he's not an over 6 foot white wide receiver. Nobody wants to give him a chance, and I'm like, that's good for us because I'll give him a chance. We'll give him a chance.
You're a racist, Gunny.
That's why I said I don't know if I should say that.
Dude,
on here.
I'm telling you, man. I'm gonna have to talk to Gunny after this show, man.
See, I'm about to get fired. Now I'm getting fired. HR is getting involved. I'm getting fired.
Yeah, dude. Let him have it.
I love Renfrow. I don't know what the hate is, but the guy has he's a 1,000-yard wide receiver. He's 26, I think maybe 27 at the oldest. He has a 71% catch rate. And he gets open, crisp route runner. When you look at the tape on him, man, like I don't understand the hate or the keeping him at a one arm's distance. Like, oh my God, Hunter Renfrow, wow, we're trying to get better, not worse. He would arguably be the second. He literally has accomplished more than everybody after Garrett Wilson on our roster. He would be the second best wide receiver on our roster if we brought him in instantly. So I'm a big fan of him, and then I think he can either shake free via trade, or he might even be a cut candidate, if I'm being honest. Like, I think there's some truth to that particular aspect. I would love for him to be the guy. I think he wouldn't cost us much, but I think he would be impactful immediately in this roster with an Aaron Rodgers. I don't understand the hate. I love him. He's my guy. I would love for him to be on the roster come week 1, but we have to wait and see. But man,
well, Finnegan, what's his contract? What can you look that up and see what?
It's very favorable. He's got 2 years left, I believe, on it. He'd be due for $11 million, I think it is this year, and 9 something next, or it's vice versa.
Yeah, but the Raiders were probably asking for a lot. That could be prohibitive as well. I mean, who knows? But I don't know. I think a lot of teams would like to have him, man. Unless he's like an asshole. What if he's like a known douche?
That's a good point. Maybe he's personality-wise, we don't know. You're right.
Maybe nobody likes him.
That could be it.
Everybody hates being around him. Who knows?
I know on the field, he's somebody who's significantly underrated, and I don't know why. Like, he's so underrated.
I agree. I like him. I think he's a stud. Douglas McClure checking back in. Thanks, man. He says, excuse me, in reference to my last super chat, I was alluding to Andrew Luck's sudden retirement. Imagine how Indy fans felt. Oh, dude. Yeah. That's devastating. Devastating.
Yep.
I mean, it's worse. Dare I
100%.
say?
1,000 times worse. 1,000 times worse.
A little bit worse than Corey Davis leaving.
Andrew Luck did, I think, what was deemed to be the impossible. A fan of football, if you watched the Indianapolis Colts, when you watch that man play, it was literally a one-man show. Andrew Luck was able to get his team to back-to-back 11-5 seasons, make 4 Pro Bowls, take them to the AFC Championship game. Yeah. And during the time frame where he was the quarterback, the defense was bottom 5. The offensive line was bottom 5. The rushing attack was bottom 5. He was literally doing it by himself and winning games. And he got beat up for it, too. That's just why he retired. He was taking a beating. But I don't think they ever had a losing season in the season that he was healthy. And he turned around a roster that was devastated, obviously first overall pick, and took him the very next 11-5. Like, Andrew Luck, to me, man, he was probably one of the best quarterbacks I've ever got to see live. Like, in all actuality, you can only imagine what he could have been had he been able to do a full career. But, man, Andrew Luck was special. Like, that dude was special. It had to be beyond devastating to be a Colt and hear this man say he's retiring. This doesn't come close in comparison.
No. And think of what they did since. They went and got Phillip Rivers for a year, Matt Ryan for, Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
Hasn't worked.
After fail after fail.
Yeah.
Andrew Luck was special. That dude was special.
Now they got Anthony Richardson? Yeah. And what's his name?
I got a question for you since this was brought up about Andrew Luck. I read somewhere that he's about to be up for the Hall of Fame a Hall of Fame inductee. And like, sorry about that.
No, he's
Go
not
ahead.
making it to the Hall of Fame
So may I ask why you think he won't make it?
because he accomplished nothing. And he cut his career short. I mean, I don't know. You said what? 4 Pro Bowls? How many All Pros?
One All Pro.
Yeah, I don't think so, man. Hall of Fame's not for guys that are good. And I hear what you're saying, and I don't disagree, but he accomplished nothing. And he cut his career short.
He did.
You know what I mean? It's too much.
But if I told you that there's individuals in the Hall of Fame that were able to get in there by accumulating a bunch of good years over a long period of time, and what he did was great. Like what he did was never done before. It was literally great, elite play for the time we got to see him play. You don't think that would warrant like, hey, this has never been done before. This is a guy that did something that literally may never be done again. To take a team
never
that
been
bad.
done before. What's never been done before? Talk to me.
He went from the first overall pick to never having a losing season when he was able to play a full season.
Wait, say that again.
First overall pick, took that same roster, and never had a losing season while he was healthy. Right? And then the moment he was gone, they went back to being trash. He was clearly the only 11 wins, GreenBean. 11-5. I think it's 4 or 5 straight seasons.
Yeah, all right. Okay, that's fair.
The 28th, I think, on average, like ranked defense. The 25th to 30th ranked freaking rushing attack, and a bottom 10, I think at worst was like bottom 5, like offensive line. That's disgusting. And he did that in the National Football League.
Yeah, but then you get to the playoffs and you lose in the wild card or whatever. You know what I mean?
True.
Like,
This is true.
I don't know. I think that has that has bearing on the decision to induct you into the Hall of Fame. I don't know. I mean, I think maybe he's cuspy. I would think while he was clearly a very, very good quarterback and all that jazz. Don't forget he followed Peyton Manning too. So they had that one down year. They got the number 1 pick. They grabbed the so it was kind of anomalous. It wasn't like they were this terrible franchise. They had one dip.
Mm-hmm.
And then they bring in this guy. They let Peyton Manning go for Andrew Luck. Peyton Manning goes to 2 Super Bowls, wins 1.
Right.
And Andrew Luck.
Don't get it twisted. I don't think he's going to get in. I'm just trying to make the argument. Like, if you look at some individuals in the Hall of Fame who were able to accumulate stats over a long period of time, they were good for a long period of time and got in, and he was elite for a short period of time. Like, I think it's just worth a nice little debate. So for me, that's why I was like, I got to ask, because me and my boy were going back and forth on it, trying to get an idea of what we think. Ultimately, we don't think he makes it in because that's just not how the Hall of Fame works. But when you look at some individuals who've got in because they were just good for 15 years, he was elite for 5 years in the NFL. But, yeah, unfortunately, he won't make it in. But Andrew Luck was fun to watch. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I was always surprised that they didn't go further or, you know what I mean? Like, he was, again, clearly he was a stud. But it was just, he couldn't put it together. I think that has bearing on whether or not these guys get into the Hall of Fame. You don't have to win a Super Bowl necessarily.
No.
It helps. But I don't know. I don't think he's done enough.
No. Yeah.
I don't think so. Paris says Andrew Luck's teams in Indy weren't that great.
They weren't.
You don't yell at me, Paris.
They were bad.
Yell at Gunny. Gunny's the guy.
No, he's agreeing with me, I think. I think he's just saying, like, to get those wins, 11 wins in the AFC with the level of talent around him.
Maybe. All right.
They were bad. Like, he literally was a one-man army out there in the AFC. So it's just, I think that's what it was. It just impressed the crap out of me to see how bad the roster was around him, and they still won 11 or more games in each season that he was healthy. That, to me, is insane.
Yeah. Blitzkrieg says Luck should be in the Colts Ring of Honor 100%. At most. There you go. 100%. I agree with that.
Yeah.
He was good, dude. Really
good.
Number 1 overall pick. And don't forget, the decision to allow Peyton Manning to walk because they had the opportunity to take Luck.
Yeah.
I think also factors in everybody. It has to.
Has to. Yeah, like
Yeah.
it legitimately has to.
So it's just so interesting, and comparing it to that, I will agree with the original statement, which is there's no way Corey Davis's departure compares to, the sudden retirement of Andrew
No,
Luck.
not even close.
No, it's not the same thing. But for our purposes right now, we were kind of look, I was okay with our wide receiver core. I was fine with it. But I wasn't yelling and screaming it from the mountaintops. You know what I mean?
Right.
It was like, we're fine, especially with the running backs and the tight ends and the defense. We're good. Losing Corey Davis to me is a hit. It's a pretty big hit, man.
It is.
Let's see what else we got here. Citybird says, if we start 3-4, is Salah on the hot seat? No, he's not going to be on the hot seat until after the season.
Yeah, 100%.
we can't. We got to stop doing that, Citybird. We got to let seasons progress. Look at the Steelers last year, right? They were whatever the hell they were. They were like 1-something,
1-7 or something like that.
Yeah,
and still finished with a winning record on the season.
Right. Yeah, they got to 9-7
to me.
So, but it's like, but that's the stuff. Like, look, it really does boil down to late November, December games. That's what it's crazy. Like, you think numerically it shouldn't matter, front end, back end, but it does. Right. If you're a team that wins in November and December, you can climb out of whatever hole you're in and make a run at this thing. Teams that come out of the gate winning, and if they can't maintain it, a la the Jets last year, we were 7-4 at one point, and look at us. We didn't make anything. So I think you got to let the season progress. Like if the Steelers season happened here this year, like we're flying banners, Salah must go and all this kind of shit. I think we should just calm down. That's what I think. Not that the press won't try to stir it up. I think they will. But we gotta be supportive. We gotta make it through the whole season. Because look, while I'm not gonna give this as an excuse right now, like a woven in excuse for this season. But the truth is that we have a whole new thing going on here, especially on offense. So it may take a minute. Who knows? I hope it doesn't. I want to win game 1. I want to win, particularly 1-3. Obviously, I want to beat the Cowboys too. But dude, beating the Bills and the Patriots, after 3 weeks, being 2-1 and 2-0 in the division would be fantastic. And I'm talking about 17-0 all offseason. So that's obviously going to be a stick in my spokes. But the realist side of me, 2-1 out of the first 3 weeks and 2-0 in the division. It's a good start. And I want that. I don't want to be, 1-2.
No.
Coming out of the first 3 weeks,
No.
3-4, like he's saying. I'm looking at Renfro is, his contract right here. Thank you, Finnegan. His cap hit is for 2023 is $13 million.
That's the cap hit?
Yeah, it's tough. There's a potential out in 2024, but his cap number would be 13.7 in 2024. So he's not a, crazy expensive wide receiver, but I think for who he is, I think he's on the expensive side.
Yeah, he'd be the highest paid wide receiver on our roster. That includes the Allen Lazard contract.
So Finnegan says that the Steelers started 2-6.
2-6.
So imagine, the Jets are 2-6 this year. We're chopping heads off.
Oh yeah, we would lose our minds.
Yeah, and I think the situations are different with Aaron Rodgers and the defense and all that jazz. But who's that? Jeremy's coming back. I didn't even know you left, Jeremy. Hey, buddy, how you doing? So I'll remind everybody, Jets Chaos or Jets Lounge, Jeremy is in the house, as is Finnegan, maintaining the back end of the show. I appreciate that. Let's talk a little bit about Becton, man.
Yeah.
We have Mekhi Becton, who let me shoot real straight. We're among friends. Let me just lay it out there.
Mhm.
I have been dodging bullets for this guy for 2 years, right? I mean, there is downright hate for him among the Jets faithful. And, disappointment, sure, maybe concern that it'll never work out, sure. But like the ire, right? The venom
Yeah.
toward Becton, I think was interesting to me for the last couple of years. Now, he had the injuries, so they are what they are. It sucks. And you could say that the weight, right, had something to do with the injury last year. So I get that.
Yeah.
I do. But watching him come on this year, and you saw that they had a plan for him all year, and it's going right according to plan. Right? So we're slowly ramping him up, starting him on the side he's comfortable with, then getting him on the side we hope to play him on. And everything, I got to say, it's looking really nice.
It is.
How confident are you that not only Becton will end up starting, but how confident are you that he's going to make it all season and be able to impact our offensive line in the way that he can if he is healthy?
To make it through the full season, I'm at like 60%. And I say 60%. You know what? I'm gonna go 75%. 75%.
Yeah, all right.
I'm at 75% because we saw the drastic changes his body has gone through. This guy is right now sitting at 360, 365. He's literally playing almost 20 pounds lighter than he was both times he got injured. Right. He's at his lightest in the NFL that he's ever been right now, and it's the knees, man. The knees aren't made to carry weight it's not supposed to carry. Trust me. Me, when I was freaking 205 pounds, a lot more flexible, a lot faster. Me at 230 pounds, I can feel like my knees are like, I don't like this. And I'm at 230 at 6'2". So the knees are not made to handle weight unnecessarily. And I think him being down to a weight that is this low, 265, his knees are already stronger from having to carry him around at 290 plus. So that's a plus right there. I think 75%, I can sit comfortably saying that. And I hope it's 100%. I think Becton right now, I saw somebody posted that he's like the first or second best line. He's the second best offensive lineman on this roster. I think AVT to me is just a dog. I love me some AVT. So I think he's our best offensive lineman. But Becton is a close second. And if we can keep Becton healthy the entire season, I think this offensive line is going to finish in the top 15. If we can keep Becton and Dwayne Brown healthy this entire season, this offensive line can potentially finish in the top 10. There's legitimate talent on our offensive line. We haven't had the pleasure of seeing it throughout training camp because of all the injuries and these guys coming back, and then Becton having to work his way back up. I like our offensive line. I really do. If those guys stay healthy, it's
all about
they're
that.
going to do damage to some people.
So Finnegan just put this out here. I'll show you guys. Salah said that former Jets draft pick Cameron Clark, now retired and with the Jets staff, has really helped Mekhi Becton's turnaround. They've really gotten close, said he's helped him grow as a person and a father. What an interesting and positive turn to the Cam Clark situation, because he was drafted in the 4th round. I believe it was the 4th round. Might have been in the 3rd round of the 2020 draft. A tackle switching to guard. And he didn't have any injury concerns in college, just couldn't stay healthy. And then he had that really terrible scare with his back in training camp. And, it's just a crazy thing, He would have been an awesome asset on the offensive line. Nasty streak,
100%,
right?
100%.
So, seeing him, get that opportunity to be, an assistant coach on the Jets offensive line crew, I think is awesome. And if that's true, that he's having that much of an impact with Mekhi Becton, they came in together, they came onto the team, they came into the NFL together. And I think it's awesome.
I think one of the things we really liked about Cameron Clark coming out was that he was a very mature, like an adult. He was an adult coming out of college, very, very mature, had a good head on his shoulders. And I think Becton right now, we saw a lot of him depending on his natural size and agility to go ahead and play in this league. Not really an adult yet, not really thinking about what he needs to get done to make sure he can maintain and play at a high level in this game. I think Cameron, you know what I'm saying, helped him with that. And you kind of saw Coach Sala allude to the fact that he's been an asset, you know, in talking to the O-line. He didn't specifically say Becton, but you can only imagine that, right? He's spending a lot of time with Becton. You've seen Becton ball out in the preseason, work his way all the way back up to become the right tackle for the Jets, when before he was talking about he's only a left tackle. You've seen maturation happening literally right before our eyes this entire preseason and training camp. And I think an adult like Cameron Clark had a lot to do with it.
Yeah, and that's a great thing to find out, you know. I mean, if we're going to bring Cam Clark back on the staff, it's nice to know he's having an impact, right? Some guy hanging around, you know, as a charity case. It's a good thing. Tom Cahill, thank you for the super chat. He says, if Becton decides to make a left at the snap, he clears out the whole line. It's very, very true, man. And we saw the breakdowns, right? We saw it when we were watching the games, but you see it in these breakdowns. His ability to clear the path is unparalleled on our line. I mean, he takes, it seems like the whole half of the line with him. You know, I mean, he is a monster, and he's not just a big schlub. Like, he's athletic, he's angry.
Very athletic. Yep.
You know, I just, if he stays healthy, he changes the entire dynamic of the line. And
100%.
Again, like you said, you know, him and AVT, and we can have the argument who's the better offensive lineman, one way or the other. But those two guys together, which is what we were designed to do when we drafted AVT, he was, you know, going to play left side with Becton. I mean, that was an exciting proposition. Now it's been crazy since, you know, with the injuries to both, really, and then moving AVT to the right side, AVT playing tackle, and all the stuff that's gone on since. Here they are. They're both on the right side together. We just might get the opportunity to see these guys develop as a unit, which is, again, what we were hoping to do. I think, I mean, come on. You know, just run right side. That's it. Throw it, even, you know, throw a tight end over there too. Yeah. Throw Ruckert over there. Let's lump some dudes up, man. Let's get them going. Create these holes, and let's get Dalvin Cook and Breece Hall. Let's get them going. And then let's see the defense try to compensate, and then let Aaron Rodgers feast. I don't know. It's exciting.
It's beyond exciting.
Yeah.
It's beyond exciting. It's just, and then I'm not sure if you saw I'm sure you saw it, like the training camp videos of Breece Hall running behind AVT and Becton. I think it was yesterday. Come on. If that doesn't get you pumped up as a fan base, like, I don't know. Breece Hall was on. I saw something ridiculous that Breece Hall was on track, if he had gotten 300 touches, to run for over 2,300 yards last season. Right? I saw that stat and I thought to myself, my goodness, that's just disgusting. Right?
Can you imagine for a rookie?
Look, if he had accomplished 2,000 plus yards in his rookie season, I would be relentlessly the most agitating fan. Like, I would agitate other fan bases. You think I'm bad now on Twitter and stuff like that. I'm telling you, I would get blocked by all Buffalo Bills fans,
right?
Miami Dolphins fans. It would be insane. Uncontrollable. That's the word. Uncontrollable. Yeah. But yeah, I think he's on track for a 1,000-yard season. Honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if we had 2,000-yard backs this year. You know, with those guys staying healthy, and you can tell that they want to kind of run the offense through the run game. Yeah. Why else do you bring a Dalvin Cook, you know what I'm saying, into the fold when you have Breece Hall and a Michael Carter? I think this running game is going to be, oddly enough, the money maker for this entire offense to hum this season. Yeah. Well, I agree, dude. I think, you know, the whole thing is just to bring him in, you know, like, don't, just because he's healthy, don't just overload him. Just slow and steady, keep it going. And let me tell you, when I met Breece Hall last week, he was another one, man. I mean, he was particularly nice. He hung out, he chatted.
Like there was no rush. Like some guys, they were like, "Hey man, how you doing?" And you can feel that there was a pull, which is fine. But Brees just kind of, as long as you want to chat, I'm right here with you. And I love that, man. He was such a cool dude. And I'm really pulling for him because, man, we haven't had a talented back that we've drafted in a long time. We had lots of late round picks. Obviously, Michael Carter. I love Michael Carter, 4th round pick, but kind of using that premium draft capital to get a running back and having him actually work out is something that we haven't seen in a while. King Jamie checking in, a resident Chiefs fan. Good to see you, buddy. He actually stopped by the game stream with us this past weekend. He says Becton slimmed up. He will do better now. Well, that's the hope, right? Right, yeah. King Jamie?
Yeah, fingers crossed.
King Jamie's a good dude. So just because he's got the Chiefs logo in his avatar, everybody, don't be mean to King Jamie. I don't think anybody is. Everybody knows who you are.
He's been great. Like ever since I've encountered him a couple of weeks back, I'm like, man, this guy's awesome.
Yeah, he's good.
Very
dude.
Rarely do you have other fan bases, especially in the same like the conference in the AFC, want to give props to other teams. Like we're all going to go ahead and hold on to we don't want to go ahead and give flowers to anybody else. Our team is the best. So look, Kansas City gets a lot of love from Jets Nation. We know what they're about. We love us some Patrick Mahomes. So it's kind of nice to see it being reciprocated. I appreciate that.
Well, let me say that I agree, but let me say this as a caveat. Mm-hmm. Let's see if we beat them. Week 5?
Week 5, I think.
Weeks 5, 6, something like that.
Something like that.
If we beat the Chiefs, King Jamie, I want to see how you react with us then.
Ooh, that's
because right now, I mean, look, I'm not saying he's not a great dude. I'm not taking anything I said away. But if we beat his team, shit gets weird. You know what I mean? Stuff
right
things
now, he's
change,
a fan because he's confident that his team
can
go ahead and do work.
Right. And he should be.
100%.
He should be.
Well-deserved.
Right. Well-deserved confidence. But it's like, how many times have you heard it, Gunny? Somebody will say, "Oh, I'm a fan of this team, and I like the Jets." It's like, why do you like the Jets? Well, because the Jets don't hurt anybody. That's why. You're like, you feel bad. It's like, it's like your charity.
It's a pity. It's pity.
Right. You donate.
A little pity right?
It's like I donate to St. Jude's.
We're non-threatening.
Kind of thing.
We're non-threatening. So it's just like, oh, they're non-threatening. It's all good. We like them.
Yeah.
You're right. He might change his mind.
Yeah, Mo Dean checking in with maybe the best thing Mo Dean has ever said. Mo Dean, it's not that you're not an intelligent man, but you bust balls. So this is an interesting comment. He says, what stinks about Becton is that he can't really control if his knee gets injured or not. It's not something under his control. I agree with that, especially when he's getting rolled on, which is with the impetus of this whole friggin' issue. He was doing his job. He was fine. Yep. So it is, but I will say this. There is an aspect of this that he can control, which is maybe not show up at 4:05.
Exactly. That's where I was going to get at. I was just like, you could try not putting more pressure on your knee than it can handle. That would help.
You know how people do Meatless Monday? Maybe you do like one less cheeseburger week.
Let's just do vegan week in a month, right? Let's just go ahead and do something but vegetables.
Right. A vegetable day. But hey, give him all the credit in the world, dude. I mean, he looks amazing.
Great. He looks great. Yeah, he does.
And I've been defending Becton the entire time, even when he was 405 or whatever. I'm just making up an arbitrary number.
Same here. I was doing the same thing.
But I mean, I've been supporting him the whole time. I just remember how much I liked him coming out, and I remember that rookie season. And it sucks to think that legitimate injuries, not like, whatever, but then you see the weight and you're like, well, how much bearing does the weight have on that freaking knee? It's got to have some impact like you were talking about.
It has to.
I can feel the difference. So yeah, when I'm 210, I feel the difference from when I'm 230, man. Believe me. And I 100%. Snore, everything changes. Like if I get over 225, 230,
sleep is different. Yep.
Yeah, my wife knows.
Same here. My wife is like, man, you're snoring now. I'm like,
yeah.
I'm at about.
She's like, hey, fatty. Hey, fatty.
I
can't sleep.
Back in the gym. I was like, I got you.
I got you. Stop eating, chips in bed.
I gotta stop with the snacks.
Right. Talking Jets with Tigo's in the house. What's up, buddy? It's
What
good
up,
to see
Tigo?
you. Yeah, we love Tigo around here. Oh, Matt O'Leary's here. Part of the
snap.
Talking Jets channel, of course,
good,
as
Matt.
you know. It's a good opportunity to bring up the Talking Jets channel ticket buy. We are hanging out together, everybody, for the November 6th game against the Chargers. That is a Monday night game, everybody. It's our first time getting together with everyone for a night game. I could not be more excited. We're hanging out with Tailgate Joe. Excuse me. So you'll get exquisite tailgate fare, lots of games, and with the price, all you can eat and drink. You'll get a Talking Jets T-shirt. You'll get on the field access. You'll get we're all going to sit together for the game, and you'll even get entered. Every ticket purchase gets entered into our jersey giveaway as well. It's going to be great, man. I can't wait to do it with you guys. So O'Leary will be there. You know, if you don't want to see me, which is very possible, you can see O'Leary. Fucking Ryan, dude. These guys are awesome.
Yeah, he
Guys
is.
have
In fact,
been men.
he just popped back in. He says, "I'm watching you guys on my TV, but wanted to pop back in to say you all should come to the game with us."
That's
I
right.
like where his head's at.
I agree, man.
I like where his head's
I
at.
agree. Now, you see this comment from O'Leary, Billy Bilstein. This is a crazy caller on his most recent Just Jets podcast. If you haven't seen it or heard it, I like to listen to O'Leary's podcast when I'm driving. That's I listen every week, pretty much. I might have missed, let's say, 3 or 4 weeks in the past 2 years, no doubt. Like,
oh, wow. Okay.
oh yeah, man, I listen. But Billy Bilstein called. Billy Bilstein had an interesting question, Gunny. He asked if Joe Tippmann goes on the PUP, the short-term IR, does that mean Trey Dean can make the roster? Fucking wacky, weird question. But Billy Bilstein, let me real quick. Hey, Jeremy, what do you think of Billy Bilstein's question?
Well, I think what Billy was probably trying to find out or figure out is sometimes, and I think Robert Saleh said it at his press conference, it's not always guys in the same room competing with each other, but sometimes it's taking the best players, so they might go heavier in one room than another.
So that's what he was saying.
So I think he meant just if Tippmann was started the season of the PUP, the IR, maybe they don't take an extra offensive lineman. Maybe they use that spot for the safety.
So you're a fan of Billy Bilstein.
I have a really good understanding of Billy Bilstein.
It sounds like you have an in-depth, deep understanding of Billy's psyche.
Almost as if you know who Billy is.
Right, as if I've known him my whole life.
Almost as if you created Billy Bilstein. That's what
perhaps you are Billy.
Yeah, I mean, perhaps. We don't know. All right, thank you, Jeremy. Thank you, Jeremy.
Anybody can go to 34 minutes in on O'Leary's podcast and be the judge and judge.
You be the judge and see if it's Jeremy or not. Okay. All right. Thank you, Jeremy. Billy Bilstein, check it in, everybody. Knobcraft says O'Leary's a better wide receiver too than Corey Davis. Just watch the tapes. Well, now O'Leary's a better quarterback for sure.
Yeah, I've seen the throw.
Hell yeah.
I've watched that thing a couple of times. On the move, freaking right into the freaking trash. That better quarterback, I'll give you that. But they're about the same size too, right? O'Leary's he's a big guy, so they're about the
O'Leary's
same size.
not.
Davis.
Yeah, he's not small. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
not small. But I always like the way O'Leary describes himself, which is an unathletic 225. Now I don't know about unathletic. I think that selling himself a little bit short.
We all saw the throw.
Right. We all know what's really going on.
Yeah. He's being modest.
Yeah, he's being modest. So Blitz Crew checking in. He says, should Billy Turner make the roster? Haven't seen why based on his gameplay. Should trade or find a replacement after cutdown. I would have loved, Blitz Crew, to see them grab Josh Jones and just let Billy Turner go.
Yep, 100%.
The thing is, Billy Turner has played with Aaron Rodgers for a number of years. He followed Hackett from Green Bay to Denver to New York or to New Jersey for those nitpickers right out there. There's always one, man. There's always one. Like, actually.
Never fails.
Never fails. And now that one is me. So hey, I'm joining the party. But so I think there's some sort of continuity, value, all that stuff going on. But I'm with you, man. I think Billy Turner has been disappointing.
It's horrible.
Right at best. And
Horrible.
and I would love to see an upgrade there. I mean, Max Mitchell, clearly he's going to take a little bit longer than we initially thought this year. But still, I think Max Mitchell's fine. I think he's definitely somebody who's going to work out.
Yeah, he's serviceable.
Yeah.
But
And
Billy Turner? I don't.
Billy Turner, he's old.
I'm gonna be upset if he takes up a roster spot. But I think you're right. He winds up making this because he's played with Rodgers and he's played with Hackett, and I think that's his ticket to staying on this roster. But my God, that dude is a liability. And if he gets our quarterback killed, you know what? I'll leave it at that. He better not get our quarterback killed, because I swear to God, that guy should not be on an NFL roster. He just shouldn't.
Yeah, and if it's got to be an NFL roster, not ours, right? You know what I mean?
I hear the Buffalo Bills could use some offensive line.
That's
help.
what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Oh my God! So Fungus Among Us says his brother's a Chiefs fan and he hates them.
Wow.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Well, King Jamie's better.
He's built different.
Your brother,
he's
maybe.
built
I don't
different.
know. Right, he is built different. Let's get to King Jamie the Mad checking in with the super chat. Thank you, King Jamie. He says, I appreciate it, fellas. I am here as a support guy. I know what it feels like to be cursed. So many sad Sundays in Chiefs history. I got your back.
Yep.
Jets fans, we're the same. Chiefs versus Jets championship. That would be fantastic.
That would be awesome.
And look, that's the truth of it. Look, you've had a couple, really stellar years.
Yeah.
But it's been a minute.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It took you a while to get here.
It took you a while. Right. It took a while. So pain, disappointment.
Yep.
Going out there, getting the big name and doing all the things that the Jets do and all that shit.
This is what empathy looks like. King Jamie can empathize with how we felt as Jets fans, and it's like other like to me, the Dolphins. You would think a team who hasn't won a playoff game in 2 decades in this century could empathize with what it feels like to go ahead and think your team is just good enough, and they continue to let you down. But no, they like to live in a world of delusion. But King Jamie, empathetic. I can appreciate that and respect it.
Yeah, dude, I feel the same way, King Jamie. I do. It's not pity. You know what I mean?
No. Empathy.
Not pity.
He understands.
Don't need no pity, man. Empathy's different. My buddy Gitmo Bob checking in. What's up, Bob? Good to see you, man. He says Becton has not only slimmed down, but he's in shape and wearing a knee brace, which I have advocated for. Right, dude. Cover your bases. Right? Cover your bases. You don't have to, Iron Man this thing. Protect. Cover it. Do whatever you can, preemptively to, take away any potential for that injury to resurface. I love it, man. I think Becton, dude, just watching him play, it's funny seeing Jets fans and even like the media report on Becton like it's some new thing. Like this is who he is. This is who we drafted. It's who he was his rookie year. And it's who I expect to see if he's on the field. He's an animal, man. And he's so big and so powerful, so strong that he has that ability just to mush guys and like crumple their legs and move them across the field with it seems almost easy. It seems effortless. It seems like he's not even really trying that hard. 100%. It's almost like you get the impression that the guy slipped, but it happened 5 times. It's like, well, what is it? Dude. And look, his rookie year, he played numerous top tier pass rushers, but in particular, he played both of the Bosa brothers, and he completely neutralized them. So much so that Robert Saleh, who was the defensive coordinator of the Niners, moved Bosa to the other side during that game.
Yep.
He can't do shit against Becton. So I think, again, and we know this, it's all about the health. And if he can stay healthy, it's going to be an exciting year. Oh, because shit, man, he really does change the dynamic of that offensive line. I'll tell you. All right.
I mean, let's be honest. Like we were all terrified of what could be with this offensive line at right tackle. Just terrified of it. And then in a couple of series, we were like, "We're good. We are solid there.
Yeah.
We figured out the answer.
We got it." Right. And again, him playing with ABT, which we haven't seen, is going to be something else, man. Because ABT, let's be real, like you mentioned earlier, I mean, we can talk about it. We can have the conversation who's better, but we already know ABT is if he's healthy, he's elite.
Yeah, he's him.
And he was bounced around. He played, right guard. He went to left tackle. He went to right tackle, and he was just as good at all of them. That's a special talent, man. We hear it all the time. Guys move, one spot over and they suck. Whether it's a linebacker, a defensive lineman, an offensive lineman, it's like they just can't do it. AVT's like, dude, whatever. And that's why Klecko was so good. It was like, yeah, man, well, hey, we're changing the defense and we're going to take you from end. We're going to make you a nose tackle. He's like, whatever, man. Just let me go out there. And he dominates. Yeah. That's the special stuff. Eddie Hunt says Becton is going to maul people this year. O-line's going to be okay. Again, it's really about health. It just really is. But I'm excited for him too, Eddie. Our buddy DKB checking in. What's up, man? It's good to see you. Got to get DKB on the channel soon. That's what we got.
Yeah, he's a good one.
I think I have.
Did
I have him on? I forget. I know I was on his show. I forget. DKB. I'm fried, buddy. That's what it is. Trust me when I tell you.
Long work day.
Yeah. So, all right. So what else we got, man? So we have the Giants this week, Gunny.
Yeah.
And it's just such an interesting thing that we decide to start Aaron Rodgers, and the lion's share of our starters. Q is going to be out there, right? We're going to see some sauce action and everybody. But it just so happens to be that this is the team in the preseason that we've lost 2 quarterbacks to. And by the way, nobody remembers this, but I do. We also lost a running back that I loved. He was not our star, but he was a very, very solid piece. Pat Chafee years ago. Give me a fire emoji if you remember Pat Chafee in the chat. We lost Pat Chafee to a dirty friggin' hit by the Giants as well. And his career ended. It was like over, So it's an interesting thing that it's like going into this team in particular. And I don't think they're dirty. It's not like that necessarily, although the Pennington hit was downright dirty. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, I remember that.
Picked him up and broke his wrist. That was the worst.
Egregious. Yeah, it was horrible.
That was terrible, man. But the Pat Chafee was a bad hit. The Sanchez thing was fucking Rex, man. What are you doing, buddy?
That was frustrating. Sending him back out there was just stupid.
So stupid. And that sucks because that was 2012, if I remember correctly. And 2011 was actually Sanchez's best year.
Yep.
And, we didn't make the playoffs. We ended up 8-8, but that was his best year. So it looked like he, as a quarterback, granted the teams were better 2009 and 2010, but 2011, it looked like this guy might be coming into his own as an NFL quarterback. And then we see that crap, So, and then we got Geno.
Oh,
Geno.
God. Broken jaw Geno.
Broken jaw Geno. Who else has that shit going on, King Jamie? You ever had your starting quarterback's jaw broken in his own locker room by his teammate? You ever had that?
Oh my God. That was almost on par with the butt fumble in terms of making the Jets seem like to be a freaking joke. You broke the jaw of the starting quarterback for your team. Like over what was some stupid amount of money too. It wasn't even something that was ridiculous. These are football players. I get it. Money is money. Respect is respect. But you broke the jaw of, man, so many jokes. So many.
The only thing, Gunny, the only thing that stops that from being as famous, let's say, as the butt fumble is that it wasn't on camera.
That's
if it was, it'd be everywhere, every year.
Yeah, it would take the cake all day.
Yeah, there's no way. And the great Todd Bowles, the the motivator of men, that was his locker room. Don't forget.
Yep.
I don't want to hear this shit about Todd Bowles, but I don't want to hear it. But so, are you nervous? I mean, what do you think? Is it the wrong move? I actually am on the side of I think it's important. I mean, dude, we have all these guys, they've never played together outside of practice. We need to at some point. But what do you think? What's your stance on this one?
I was initially on straight panic mode. And again, that's just the PTSD that runs through us as Jets fans because we don't like our nice things being exposed because they tend to get broken, right? So we all live in this fear bubble of, oh, my God, something bad is going to happen. Vice the positive of, hey, we can go ahead and see Aaron Rodgers go freaking 6 for 6, drive down the field, and we're seeing this offense on all cylinders. So, yeah, after I went through my panic mode, I realized this is football. He can get hurt getting out of his shower tomorrow or something like that. We need to see what he looks like when you've got a couple of blanks in the weapon and you're firing downrange, right? You're at the practice range. You got some blanks. Let's go ahead and take some shots. Because Buffalo is our first game. Buffalo is the first game we got to play. I don't know if you want your guys coming in there with no range time. You want to go ahead and have the bullets flying like live against Buffalo, a division opponent that right now is the king of the AFC East. Yeah, nah. So after further consideration and putting my fear factor aside, I realize it makes too much sense for us to not do. I don't want them playing a full half. Just get these guys in the rhythm, get some timing down, get some continuity going, their confidence going, pull them, and then we'll see them freaking week 1. But, no, I'm with you, GreenBean. Terrified, scared, like everything, all the emotions of fear ran through me when I heard that Aaron Rodgers and the starters will be playing in this game. But it's football. And I'm hearing great things about the turf too, right? The new turf. So apparently the new turf, everyone's loving it. Everybody in the Giants players, the Jets players are talking about how much softer it is. It gives like real grass and stuff like that. And a lot of those injuries we've had to worry about often came on that really, really crappy turf that they were having to tread out there and play on. But it sounds like this new turf 2.0 or whatever they want to call it is to the liking of the players. And so if that's going to go ahead and help mitigate some injuries, that's great on us as well. We got to see it. We got to see it. It's a must because if not, we're talking about sending these guys live in week 1 under the bright lights on Monday Night Football against Buffalo, and that could be bad or good. It'll be great if they go out there and they just light it up. But this is still the NFL. Every other quarterback, Patrick Mahomes is playing a full quarter right now, getting ready. We got to go ahead and see it for ourselves, and they need this time.
I agree. And as there's a comment in the chat here, let me see here. Where did it go? Duncan McLean. What's up, Duncan? He says, Allen and the Bills starters are playing again this weekend. So they're gearing up, man.
Yep, facts.
And at some point, we have to at least kick off a little bit of the rust that we have. This offensive line hasn't played together. Aaron Rodgers hasn't played with them. Again, he hasn't played in any game with the New York Jets. So it's important, man. If there are some kinks, whatever's there, you want to have that opportunity to work that out, see what's going on, what you thought was going to work and didn't. Like, you don't want to be doing that week 1, Monday night in front of the world, September 11th.
Yeah.
We got to be able to do some things. And our offense has struggled. And now losing Corey Davis is an issue, man. It is. It's an issue. And we lost, one of the weapons that we had, even if he's just a move the chains guy or a decoy, whatever it might be, like you got to account for him, and so we need to, my stance is we need to see, we need to get these guys out there. So, I'm with everybody with the concern, and it happens to be the Giants. So, scary, man. And we're a damaged lot. We've been through hell, man.
We've been through it. We have been through it as a fan base. My goodness.
Yeah, hell yeah, man. So who said it in here that the fake spike was worse than the butt fumble? I actually agree with that. As far as what it did to us, Paris. Okay, 1189 Paris. The difference is that after that game, we were playing for first place that game.
We were. I remember that.
And we lost every game that season after the fake spike. And it wasn't like first, it was like week 10. We were like 6-4 playing for first place against the Dolphins. We lost. We lost every game that season. Pete Carroll was fired. We hired Rich Kotite. We won 4 games over the next 2 years. So since that play, we won 4 games in 2.5 years. It's crazy. To think about the impact of that shit, man. So I'm with you there. Yeah, man. It's but so anyway, I still think though we have to fearlessly walk through the flames, my friends. Like we can't, not do things because of the fear of what's happened to us in the past. Like we can't. You have to man up. We got to hold hands and jump into the flames screaming like warriors. That's what we have to do, man.
Facts.
Fearlessly. Whatever it is, it is. We'll get through it together. Like that's the mentality that we have to have as a franchise. Like we can't. And as fans, we got to support it. It's like in Joe Douglas, we trust.
Yep.
In Robert Saleh, we trust. Like, look, dude, our defense, even though Greg Williams was able to get a top 5 run defense out of that patchwork group, we still weren't a great defense, right? It was great for us at the time because then our offense sucked so bad.
Our standard, yeah.
Right. But the truth is, Robert Saleh in 2 seasons made this a top 5 defense and number 1 in many categories. So he's earned something. You know what I mean? He's earned something. We were able to get Aaron Rodgers, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, to want to come here and only here. That's something too. We're able to get the offensive and defensive rookie of the year. First time in our history. Like there are things happening here. We got Klecko in the hall, for God's sakes. Finally. Like things are changing. It's time for us to buy in and believe. That's what's going on. And just because, what was it, 2012? That's 11 years ago that Sanchez got injured in the Giants game. And before that, it was another 10 years or whatever it was, 5-6 years.
When you think about it, we're due. We're like right on track for like, okay, we've given our decade of blood, sweat, and tears. Now it's time to start recouping some of that. Like in 10-year increments, we tend to go ahead and kind of figure it out and make a run. So we're due, guys. Some would say even well overdue.
Yeah, overdue, I think, is an appropriate term. So look at that. Now, getting back to the wide receiver thing real quick. As you guys know, we lost Corey Davis this week. So we have some potential cut candidates. Now, on Tuesday is the big cut down day. Now, this is different than most years. All the years really, where there was an incremental cut down. We go from 90 to 75, and you know what I mean? So there's that like that span of time where there's trimming. This is going to be a one-time, it's going to be a bloodbath, right? We're going to have 1,300 unemployed players at one time, right? So some of the guys that are going to be out there, where the hell did it go? There it goes. So we have guys like Chase Claypool, Josh Reynolds, Ben Skowronek, Jalen Reagor, Traquan Smith, Sterling Shepard. Any of these guys turn you on, Gunny? And how about you guys?
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm a fan of Chase and I'm a fan of Jalen. I would take those guys in a heartbeat to be that wide receiver 3, wide receiver.
All of them?
For us. No.
Any of them?
Chase and Jalen. I like Chase and Jalen. Again, you see a lot of injury histories, a lot of guys who really haven't shown you much in the league. Chase, I just love his physicality. I really love his physicality. I think he's the kind of aggressive player you want to kind of put out there and kind of see the kind of damage he can do. He could be our I guess you can say our freaking beta Terrell Owens type of guy. Just a very, very big character, prideful, cocky, arrogant dude. Someone's going to talk some crap, right? We don't have one of those because I don't think in the wide receiver room. I like Claypool. I like Claypool a lot. My brother's a Steelers fan, so I've seen him play. And I'm a fan of Jalen Reagor. I think he could go ahead and be a sneaky good pick here. Are these guys wide receiver 2s? No. This would definitely be another wide receiver 3 that we'd be adding to the roster between those two guys. But Are they really cut candidates though? Like, wow.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of cut. I mean, look, there's always surprises every year too. Guys that you just can't believe were cut. And there's lots of reasons, right? Whether it's money or injury or there's lots of reasons. But I think Chase Claypool would be a fantastic get. But I know what I'm gonna say this, and I think you alluded to it earlier, Gunny. I'm not so convinced that the Jets aren't perfectly happy with the bottom end of their wide receiver core being Brownlee and Malik Taylor. I mean, and maybe even Gibson, if depending on how it all shakes out. But I think like they feel good. Again, they have a well-stocked tight end room. They have a well-stocked running back room, which can totally take a lot of the pressure off the wide receiver core. It doesn't matter, right? It like who's receiving the ball, really. We're talking about moving the chains. Obviously, you want a guy who can break it at any time, like a Garrett Wilson or something, of course. But when you're talking about Alan Lazard and and even Corey Davis for that matter, and you just move it over to Conklin, Uzoma, Ruckert, does it really matter if those guys can do the job? We see successful tight ends all over the place. So maybe they're fine with the idea of like, dude, we're good with Hardman, Wilson, Lazard, Taylor, and we're just going to go with some young bucks. You know what I mean? Like we believe in them, and by midseason they're going to be awesome for us, and we're going to lean on the running game. We're going to lean on the tight ends, and because look, Aaron Rodgers don't give a shit as long as look, get open, be where you're supposed to be. Get open, and when I toss the rock to you, you're going to catch it, okay? That happens. It doesn't matter what his name is, what his technical position is. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm not convinced that there's the same panic in the Jets organization. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if they pulled somebody from the cuts, especially if a guy like, Claypool or
Claypool falls. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. I do think that we were talking about it before the show started. There's a lot of key components where we can go ahead and kind of hide some of the deficiencies at wide receiver, right? That running back room and that tight end room give us a lot of flexibility. And it's Aaron freaking Rodgers. Like, this guy has played with mid, throughout his career and has elevated mid before. And perhaps one of these guys that we don't know about. Maybe Malik Taylor's finally got it figured out. This is his coming out year. Maybe Brownlee is really that dude, and they can go ahead and put it all together. Gibson, like, we really don't know what to expect from these younger guys that have the potential to really just break out. So you're right. It's possible that we are over here overreacting and we're freaking out as a fan base, and they're looking at us and they're like, we're good. We weren't tripping about this. We're good. That's why we knew back in freaking the OTAs and we didn't make any moves because we weren't really tripping over it. That could really be the case. And in all actuality, after seeing what Joe Douglas has built, we as a fan base literally have to just trust it. I mean, look at the roster he's put together for us to be proud of as a fan base. If they feel that good with the talent they have in the building, I think we need to just take the words of Aaron Rodgers, RELAX, just relax. Let some games play out and see what we got. But like you said, if some cuts happen and you have a chance to add a Claypool, I don't see why not, right? The kid has 2 800-yard receiving seasons under his belt already, almost double the touchdowns 2 times. I think that's worth, throwing a contract at him if he's available after the cuts. But I have a hard time believing he'll get cut. That would be crazy.
Yeah. Look, when it all comes down to the brass tacks, I don't think so either. Right.
Yeah.
But you never know with this sort of stuff.
You're
now,
right.
I'm going to say something out loud because, again, we're amongst friends, right? Including King Jamie, the resident Chiefs fan. He's our friend. But this is just us. I'm just going to say this out loud while Circle of trust, everybody. I'm going to put my neck on the block here for a second. And I'm going to say, with a little bit of a, what do you call it? A disclaimer. I, as you know, am a very, very big Joe Douglas supporter, right? I like what he's done here. I think he's the best GM we've potentially ever had, at least have had in a long, long time. But I think Elijah Moore running around would be pretty neat right about now. You with me, Gunny?
Agreed.
You know what I'm saying?
Agreed. The thing is, I wanted to say it loud and proud on Twitter today, but there was already a group of fan bases like, if anybody mentions Elijah Moore, like, you're an idiot. You know,
You're an idiot. Why would you be an idiot?
I'm like, why would I? This dude is. I don't get it. I don't understand why we were so. I get it. He wasn't good for the locker room. I understand that. Don't get it twisted, people. I'm not saying that him requesting a freaking trade during a win streak is something you can look at and be like, oh, man, such a good guy. No, I'm talking about purely talent level wise. I think Elijah Moore being in this room, we're not tripping over Corey Davis freaking leaving. Like, in fact, I don't even know if Corey Davis would have been on the roster to begin with if Elijah Moore was still on this roster. I was really looking forward to seeing what he was going to do with Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. I really was. When he was traded, I was very surprised by it.
I know.
But
I was disappointed. I was.
Yeah. Wasn't a locker room fit. And you look at the locker room and how much these guys love each other and how much they're having fun and they trust each other. You get it. You understand, right? The culture and the mindset does matter, but man, it hurts to see that like kind of talent in the AFC in Cleveland right now. A new toy for Deshaun Watson when he could have been a new toy for freaking Aaron Rodgers. And I wholeheartedly believe Elijah Moore would have played for the Jets, given it his all, with Aaron Rodgers as his quarterback. I believe that 100%.
Yeah, I think so too. But the rumor was that he asked for a trade again. So,
but that was before the Rodgers trade. I know it was in the
no, I don't think talks. It was. Was it?
Because he was. Yeah, it had to be because he was a part of the package, right?
I don't know. Gunny.
Before Rodgers even got here,
my brains are broken this year. I'm working a lot of hours, so my brains are a little bit different this year. Last year I was sharp, baby. Everybody knows. You couldn't stump GreenBean on shit, man. This year I'm like, wait, what is your name? Who are you? I don't know anything this year.
I think the reason why we're conflicted, GreenBean, is because I think I've watched the show forever and a day. You're always about team first players, guys that sacrifice, guys that 100%. I think Elijah Moore kind of is in that gray area for the majority of us, is because we all had questions about freaking Mike LaFleur last year. Every single one of us was like, what the fuck is this guy doing? Like, it was one of those things where the fan base was like, we know exactly what player you're about to call. And then he would call it. And we're sitting there like, unbelievable. I was literally on Twitter, and as I'm typing out what he's going to call, other Jets fans were typing it out, and he would call the play. It was gruesome. And I think as a competitor, especially when like you saw him getting open quite a bit and wasn't getting the ball thrown his way. And I don't know. I get it. I understand why some Jets fans are like, nope, he didn't want to be here. I get it. But I'm talking
and I'm with that aside.
I'm with that too. I am. Purely in regards to the talent.
All right. Jeremy's got an emergency. Right. I think he's got to go to the bathroom. Hold on.
Oh, snap.
It's not an emergency. I wanted, you asked why Chase Claypool could be cut. So I just wanted to know, I found an article that kind of talks about it.
All right. Are you going to read us the entire article? Or are you going to give us the
paraphrase?
Right. Hold on, I'm going to bring Finnegan on too because he's part of this. Hold on, here you go, Finnegan.
So what I'm
you agree with Jeremy? This is all the same information. This is good.
We'll see.
Okay, so
all right, we'll see. All right, Jeremy, you're up.
Bleacher Report's Christopher Knox recently broke down a list of 8 veteran players he believes could find themselves on the roster bubble during training camp this year, and featured the 24-year-old Claypool at the top of the list, citing a report from ESPN Thousands' Mark Silverman earlier this offseason that said his development isn't trending in a way that the Bears wanted it to trend this offseason. And the name of the article was Bears may cut their losses.
There you go. So we have a guy making shit up, and then we're doing what everybody else does, and we're running with it.
We're running with it.
There you go. Well, it's and look, and for our purposes, we're just talking about it, right? It's just potential. Right, Finnegan?
Yeah.
Now, Finnegan, let me ask Finnegan. So if you had to put money down, right, and you don't, but if you did, Chase Claypool getting cut or not?
No. It doesn't make sense for the Bears.
They traded a second-round pick for him.
Well, and there was a 32nd pick because of the Dolphins. So essentially a first round pick for Claypool, like
that, essentially, right?
but
Yeah. So you're right. I mean, there's there's a little bit of optics going on there. So yeah, I don't know. It's
Especially in
interesting.
a year where you're trying to go ahead and finally say, okay, freaking Justin Fields, we need you to
Right.
throw the ball. We need you to play quarterback this year. But we're going to
Yeah,
take
and
your
they had a
number 2
nice
wide receiver
draft.
and just cut
They had
him.
a nice
Right? Really nice
offseason.
draft.
Yeah.
Yeah, if he
So
gets cut, I'll have question marks about that freaking front office because that wouldn't make much sense to me.
Well, and there's the whole thing, Gunny, about like his modeling career, and there are rumors that his focus is not really where it's supposed to be.
This is true.
I mean, he's got beautiful eyes, I've been told.
Yeah.
I shit you not.
Apparently
Somebody said that. I said, why does he give so much? We're fucking modeling. His eyes are gorgeous. And well, okay. It might be.
well,
It
and,
might
and
be
with
the case.
with
I
that,
got a
this might be the
source-
worst market to drop him in too. Is New York, if he's not focused on football.
Yeah, that's a great point. Now, real quick, Sam Aiken says, what about a trade of Michael Thomas? Michael Thomas, I feel like, is toast. Maybe not, but Hollywood Brown, and we talked about Hunter Renfrew already, but Hollywood Brown, I just looked, he had 67 receptions last year for 709, 3 touchdowns. So he's in my opinion, that's the perfect complement to what we have already. Somebody that can catch 60 balls, get a few touchdowns. Finnegan, what do you think about is that realistic? I mean, they're having somewhat of a fire sale over there in Arizona right now. You think you can get them?
Probably for the right price. Michael Thomas has been having a good camp, so I don't think he's going anywhere. I think you could get Renfro.
What do you think, Gunny?
I would love Hollywood Brown. I really thought like that would be the dream. You add him to this wide receiver room, and now we're cooking with grease or fire or whatever you want to say about that. I don't see it happening again. You're talking about a premier weapon for those guys. If you get rid of him, who's after him, right? Who's next? I just unless they're really tanking, I don't see that being plausible. But I would love Hollywood Brown over Thomas and Renfro. Thomas, I'm sorry, we haven't seen him play ball in almost freaking 2 years. Training camp is one thing. I think the wrong hit might send him right back to the IR. So he makes me nervous. Renfro, I love. I think he's the most realistic option for the Jets. I think that's very, very plausible. I know a lot of people are talking about like Michael Evans. Yeah, I would love Mike Evans too, but every indication is that he loves Florida. He's not going to uproot his family. And I think he'd probably wind up retiring before he takes a trade, if I'm being honest. Mike Evans has been very, very adamantly clear that he's happy where he's at, loves Florida, and will not be uprooting his family. So I know the Mike Evans thing is something a lot of people would like. But if he's not going to be committed to the game or to the Jets, I just don't see that being a risk. Hollywood Brown and Renfro are probably going to be one of the 2 individuals on this roster. And if I had to put money on it, I think it's Renfro. I think Renfro, again, because he was being freaking shopped around and auctioned about a little bit in the offseason. He might be the guy that shakes free, and I'm all about it. I think that's a hell of an acquisition.
And we have money, baby. We just found 10.5 or what is it, 11 million?
$10.5 million back in our pockets.
10.5 mil, just like that. Boom. I'm not, yeah, man. Just give it to Renfrew, right? Why not? Why not? Now, just to be clear, everybody, I see there's all kinds of comments about Elijah Moore. John says Jake Assman is disappointed. More truthers. I'm not saying, I'm just saying, look, 2 years ago, we used a 2nd-round pick on Elijah Moore, which at the time, let me be frank, was really not on my radar because I forget which position I wanted at that time. Probably a friggin' linebacker again. You know how I am. But so when they drafted him, I was like, okay. I mean, clearly, I thought he was going to go in the top half of the 1st round. Honestly. So I thought it was a great pick, and we had nothing but high hopes. He turned out to be a butthole, and that is what it is. But it would have been real nice if, especially with Hackett coming in, if they could have fixed that and kept that young, talented player on the cheap on the roster with Garrett Wilson when Aaron Rodgers comes. That's what I'm talking about. It's just it's the talent that he has.
That's the thing.
And he's
I feel like we
shredding
keep
it.
reiterating. Yeah, I feel like we should
Right.
keep reiterating that. Like, we're on your side. We get it. He was not a team guy. Locker room
Right.
cancer. 100%. We get that. I'm envisioning the what if, right? The talent of it. That's where GreenBean and I are like, damn it, man. Yeah, not the kind of player you want in this locker room. Seeing how well they've melded and how well they're coming together. But damn it, man, that talent. It's just it's hard to see in another AFC team, and he's killing it. He's killing it in freaking in the offseason. It sucks.
I think you have to also look at too the off the field. Like, we're thinking of imagining him on the field with Rodgers, but what if he has a game? He plays 8 snaps, doesn't get any targets, middle of win streak again, and requests a trade.
Yep.
Like,
Right.
This is true.
And that's unforgivable,
100% facts.
Finnegan.
Yep.
Right.
No.
What he did is
No.
bullshit.
right?
Yeah.
I don't care what's going on. And especially, do you remember that he had that interview his rookie year and they were talking to him about, stats, and he said, my stats are
yeah.
unimportant. It's about, he goes, if the team's winning and I get 0 stats, then I don't care. And he was lying to us.
Freaking liar.
He's a straight-faced liar, man. So that's we saw who he really was. Now, he might have, the whole LaFleur thing and all that might have exacerbated it, and made everything worse. And he saw no future, so he just needed to get out of here as soon as he can. But it also happens to coincide with a year that his agent and some of his best friends stomped their feet. AJ Brown, who's his buddy, DK Metcalf, who he's close with, and then Deebo Samuel, who is also represented by his agent. They all stomped their feet and they all got paid. Some got traded. AJ Brown got traded, got exactly what he wanted. So there's probably some ill-advised guidance going on there too. Like, dude, just just stomp your feet, man. Do it. And so who knows? But I'm with everybody that he was a bad seed. My hope was with the new regime, with Aaron Rodgers, with everybody coming in, that he would say, you know what, this is a great opportunity. I'm going to just zip the lip and I'm going to calm down. But again, we're just talking about his talent. You know what I mean? Like having that young, just precise. That's the craziest thing too. Yeah, man. And we had, all of us had problems with how he was being used, sending him down the sideline. Like, dude, he's the guy to work the middle of the field. Nobody can stick with him. Like, why are we doing it? And it's going to be shitty to watch him do what he does in Cleveland, honestly.
Well, in a good point by Mo Lake in the chat.
What's that?
Mo Lake said, I'd rather have Tippmann than Moore.
And that's a great point. Yeah. Because that's the pick, right?
But we could have had Creed Humphreys instead of Moore. That was the guy.
That was the guy. Okay. We can't.
We're doing the rabbit hole thing.
Yeah, we can't do it, Jeremy.
I know. I'm just
we can't do it. Because look, I'll tell you what, there was the whole thing that, that draft, I would have absolutely not traded up for Elijah Moore. I'm sorry, AVT. And I would have kept my 2/3, and then I would have been able to take. Was Creed Humphrey that trade? Yeah, I would have taken Creed Humphrey in that draft.
Yeah, he was there instead of Elijah Moore. I mean, some people wanted it to happen. Even after taking AVT, people wanted us to take Creed Moore.
Yeah, people. That's probably the guy I wanted. I just can't seem to remember. Yeah. But yeah, man, there's just so many ways that you can go about these things, right? And like, you have 7 picks. I mean, in those years, the Jets had a few more because of trades, 9 picks, whatever it might be. But that's out of 250 something players that are drafted, and then all the undrafted free agents. Like, you only get a handful of players, so you can't double, unless your guys are busts, in which case, like Elijah Moore. Sucks.
Not really. Elijah Moore turned.
He is for us. Well, again, if we parlay it into Tippmann and he ends up being something, then all's well. It's the same thing like with John Abraham, right? It's like when we traded John Abraham, even though I was furious with him in the playoffs and all that shit, he was healthy enough to play but chose not to because of his contract and like, I don't know, man. And there's lots of details there, but I was pissed about that for over a decade. My wife was making fun of me on Tuesday night. It came up again in the Talking Jets panel, and my wife just texted me with a GIF, like one of these, like, man, she's like, John Abraham. She was telling me for years, like, dude, you need to work on your resentment to John Abraham. Like, she, who the fuck is John Abraham? Why do you talk about this guy so much? Like, I just met my wife, and I'm like, oh, this motherfucker, you know. And she's like, who is this guy? Why do you hate him so much? How? I was like, that was 10 years ago.
What's going on?
Yeah, well, it's 10 years ago. This guy screwed us. But the good news is that we traded a great player, but we got Nick Mangold. So it calms that down. It's like, okay, well, hey, it is what it is. But if you do that in like so many years, we would trade somebody. Like, for example, we traded Revis for the 9th overall pick, and we took D. Milliner. And it's like,
Goodness gracious.
Yeah, goodness gracious indeed. Let's see. Blitzkrieg checking in. Is Hollywood different than Elijah Moore? Well, right. I mean, is he a punk? I don't even know. With a name like Hollywood, you kind of think he might be, right?
A little diva-ish.
Yeah, he's a bit of a diva, but he's a competitor. I don't think we've ever heard of him crying and wanting to quit on the team because he wasn't getting the ball. He just wanted to get paid. I think for him, the biggest thing was he wanted to get paid, and they weren't going to pay him, so he wound up going to Arizona instead. But Elijah Moore, in terms of like, you want talent, maybe in terms of talent, I think Hollywood Brown's probably better than Elijah Moore. Same crisp route runner, but I think he's got way more speed and burst than an Elijah Moore. And he's never quit on his team before either. That's also a plus.
Yeah. Let me say hello to Rivka. It's good to see you here, Rivka. Where you been? It's nice to see you. And she's also bringing up the idea that if we hadn't traded more, we wouldn't have Tippmann. Because don't forget, we didn't have a second-round pick, right? So, but like Paris is saying in a comment right after this, he's saying that we got a second. We didn't purely get a second-round pick. We traded a third and Elijah Moore.
Yes.
So who knows, right? So again, it gets very convoluted. Straight up, you're right, right? And I think Tippmann, I mean, he's banged up right now, but dude, he looked fantastic from my eyes, right?
I think he's gonna have a great career.
I think he's gonna have a very, very solid career for us, right? Whether or not he ends up starting this year, who knows, right? But he can play guard, he can play center, and I think he's going to be fine. And it's good, right? It's good. But again, who knows what we could have done with the third round pick? I mean, who knows? We could have Elijah Moore and there were centers there in the third. I forget. I'd have to look back and see who was still there, but there were still centers being taken in the third round. And I just got to look and see who it is. But again, I'm happy-ish. Just with Corey Davis leaving, it shines light on the fact that, it'd be nice. It'd be nice to have a little fella like Elijah Moore running around.
That's all we're saying. That's all
we're saying, right, man?
That's
it. That's all we're saying. And look, and let's be clear too. Elijah Moore pissed me off a lot last year. The one play in particular, there was a few, but the one play in particular was when he had 2 yards to get his freaking feet in bounds, and he didn't.
Yep.
He was just long stepped it. It's like, what the fuck are you doing, dude? And then you got Garrett Wilson. He's got 3 inches and he gets both of his toes in. And Elijah Moore is just kind of, haphazardly bebopping around the joint. And, so that stuff, you can't forget all that. But he was disenchanted and everything. But anyway, again, I'm not defending Elijah Moore. And I said, no matter what his career ends up being, what he did is unforgivable.
Yep.
It's always going to be wrong.
Yep.
Asking for a trade in the middle of a win streak is bullshit. Okay? Especially for this franchise, man. We don't get win streaks, dude. Leo checking in. What about maybe a surprise? Keenan Allen? I don't know. Hearing it could help Colts financially. Yeah. Is that real?
Finnegan, is that real?
I haven't seen anything.
I've not seen a thing about it.
I don't know, Leo.
That is not the way they would do it. I don't believe that.
They could get
They would
something
restructure first. There's no way. Or a trade.
No way.
Or a trade if they're going to do it.
They
Now,
would take
just on the
24
merit
million
of your
in dead cap.
well, just on the merit of your comment, though, would I like it? Yes,
100%. My God, yes. What?
Yeah, I'd like it a little bit. Yeah, man. Yeah. So I don't know, man. I don't know about that one. It's going to be interesting to see, though, these cuts. And look, as happy as we might be with who's on the roster, there will be guys that are cut that Joe Douglas has his eye on. And who knows, maybe potentially someone shakes loose. Where are we now? We were at the 13th pick, but we traded it to the Packers. We got the 15th pick. So I think that bumps us to 15 on the waiver claim. Excuse me, on the waiver claim list. I'm not 100%.
I don't know. 'Cause I don't know if it changes the fact of the reality of where we finish the season. You know, that's like I don't know if that's connected. Where if it is, it might be.
Yeah, I just got to double back on that, man. I don't know. Maybe Rivka knows. Rivka, does that change our waiver order? The trade? I think it does, but I could be wrong. She talks about Luke Weipler, being taken in the. There were guys. That's what I'm saying, and there are guys that are going to be fine. They're going to be good. Don't forget, everybody. We like to look at the first and second round, but there are. I would say at least half of the offensive line free agents that we've been clamoring over the last, half dozen years, they're like 4th, 5th, 6th round picks. They just made careers out of it. And for so many years, you look at, Jason Fabini, you look at Matt O'Dwyer. Was his name fucking Matt? Yeah, I think. And then you look at Matt Slauson. These guys are 4th, 5th, 6th round picks.
Yeah.
So
Day
you
two,
can
day three guys.
absolutely find stud O-linemen in the mid to late rounds. No doubt. So it's not really, it's not an unforeseen.
I thought Whippler was in the 4th, though. Am I wrong about that?
Maybe.
Was Whippler in the 5th or 6th? That was my number one, center going into this.
It was all I know is it was shocking how far he slipped.
Yeah. And we talked about it in our group chat.
6th round.
He was a 6th rounder?
Pick 190.
Wow. Yeah. Wow.
Oh, my
I know.
God.
We should have taken him, too. Fucking just take
We
all
should've,
the linemen,
yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Hey, Tipman, now you're a freaking guard. Whitmer, you're a center.
So G's saying that the trades don't affect the waiver order. Rico the Pup says he thinks waiver claims are based purely on record. Yeah. I mean, that makes sense to me. It does. I don't know. I thought
I'm pretty positive he's right.
trade-
It's based off of last year's. Yeah, last
You're
year's.
right.
record.
Harry's talking about Slauson. Hey, Harry, do you remember when Matt O'Dwyer and Jumbo Elliott and Jason Fabini absolutely destroyed that strip club? In I think it was on Patterson Plank Road. I used to go there. I knew a couple young women who worked there back in the day. They were friends of mine, but they got into that. Remember, the police couldn't calm them down. It was a whole thing. Imagine Jumbo Elliott, Jason Fabini, and Matt O'Dwyer all pissed off and drunk and ripping sinks off the wall. Like, what do you do other than try to tase them? Like, what do you do? They're like, oh, please, everybody, can we please calm down? Those guys are massive. It's like that was a whole thing. Draft orders. Trading draft pick doesn't affect the order. Okay. All right. You guys seem pretty lockstep on that. I'm going to run with it, man. So that would put us at 13th in the waiver claim order. So, it's going to be a little bit tougher than we're used to. We're used to,
1 to 3. You know what I'm saying?
Top
that's
4.
Top 5, baby.
Yeah. That's what we're used to. So, all right. Well, look, let's super chat. There we go. Hey, Jen, Jessica, is that my sister's helping her? Okay. Yeah. We're going to end the show. So, all right. Let's see. Luke Wickler was a 6th
I can't
round
believe
pick
he was a
from Harlem.
freaking 6th rounder. For some reason in my head, he was going to the 4th. I'm sorry.
It's easy. Hey, man, Gunny, give yourself a break, buddy. It's easy. It's easy to get mad, to get all jammed up, man. It's a lot
But
of
have
lot
y'all seen
going
him
on,
in the
dude.
preseason?
A lot going
He's
on.
looked great. How does Luke Whipper freaking?
It's crazy. Dom C had him nailed as a top guy. It's crazy.
Yeah, Dom C was adamant about it.
Yeah, I had him at the top 3 center. I did. But
I
I
had
did.
him as
Well,
my
the
number-
truth is, I had Avila, as potentially my top center. He was taken as a guard.
He's a guard. Yeah,
But
I had Whippler, and then I had JMS after that, and then it was. I can admit it. I had Tippmann as my third guy. Right, I was surprised we went the Tippmann round when we picked him. I was just like, but Whippler's right there, and so is JMS. But then I had to rethink the whole thing. Like, well, I'm not a professional at this. Maybe I'm just thinking out loud.
What? I got that little Gunny. I got that little tip. Remember that? I got the tip a couple weeks before the draft that the Jets were much higher on Tippmann than anybody
remember that,
thought.
yeah.
And I'm telling you, people laughed at me.
I did.
I did. I'm not gonna lie to you. When you said it,
There it is.
I was like, your source might have been drunk when he told you that, because I
Yeah.
don't see it.
Yeah,
and
man.
not over Whippler and of course JMS, but right on the money. First
That
center
was
taken off the
it.
board. You were right on the freaking money.
Even with that tip, when John Michael Schmitz was on the board, I was like, there's no way. He's our guy. There's no way they're not taking him. We're going to hear his name. When they said Tippmann, I was surprised. I
was
wasn't
shocked.
unhappy,
No.
but I was surprised.
I was
But
shocked.
I would have gone with John Michael Schmitz. That's just me. But
I thought Whippler or JMS was the pick. And
Jared Patterson, he went later too.
that's true.
Rusty loves Jared.
I know. He had a rough senior year, though, Rusty. You remember? I mean, if he came out after his junior year, he was the top. Well, he was behind
Linderbaum.
he's behind Linderbaum, but he would have been the next center taken. Period. And then he hung out and he had that rough year. We talked to him at the Senior Bowl. I think we did. He talked about, now it's good, man. I get people to see some tape of me in all kinds of different positions. And we're like, yeah, it sounds nice and all, buddy. But you slid down about 5 rounds, so that sucks. Anyway, all right, guys,
I know
that's
it's
the end
not.
of our
I
show.
got one more thing. One more thing.
Oh, what do you
Brandon.
got?
I know it's not necessarily Jets related, but just so you guys know, one of my contacts, one of my boys who's really in the know with the Dolphins, apparently have submitted an offer for Jonathan Taylor that was rejected, their first offer, but apparently they're now in conversations to meet in the middle. So they're going back in to up the offer for Jonathan Taylor to the Dolphins. I'm hoping it fails miserably, obviously, but I just got that news and I was like, son of a bitch. All right. Well,
Yeah, that would be unfortunate.
I would be very
Well, unless these injuries and stuff are there's some truth, I
To
mean,
it?
who knows? Yeah, who knows? Right?
Jonathan Taylor, man. And
Yeah, I
the
know,
AFC
dude. He's a stud muffin.
Goodness gracious.
Although he screwed me last year on fantasy, man. He really
same
fell
here.
off.
Me
the
too.
cliff.
Yeah.
He was
Like,
my number one overall
oh,
pick.
my
I had
God.
the first overall pick. I took him, and the first couple weeks it was like, oh man, I'm gonna rule this league. And then he was like,
And then Cliff.
Well, here's the thing too, Gunny. Though, if say they do get Jonathan Taylor, they probably have to make him one of the highest paid running backs. They got to pay Waddle after this year. They got to pay Tua after this year. Still have to pay Christian Wilkins. So I mean,
Oh no! If they make the trade, I'll say this. So the Jonathan Taylor thing for me, it's a win now move, right? They
Right.
do it. They need to win now because they significantly hamper their ability to continue to improve next year and then the following year. So it's one of those things where you look at it and you're like, oh my God, I don't want to have to deal with this dude this season because we're trying to pursue and win the AFC East. But the Dolphins weakened themselves next year, the year after that, and the year after that by doing so. Like it's kind of it's like a win-lose, but win-win really if you're a Jets fan, because we're literally gonna have all the money, all the flexibility, all the ability to keep getting better. Whereas the Bills will be tied up when Allen's freaking big money hits next season, and then the Dolphins who are gonna have to pay all of these guys. So
I don't
it's just-
see Allen giving them $35 million back.
I don't see that either. Neither do I.
Yeah, I mean, hey, dude, and look, our D line just got to keep him in check, man. We got Al Woods in here for the run stuffing. Stick Michael Clemens on the inside on first down, and let's get some angry, animals in there and show them who's boss. That's what we do. That's what we do. All right, guys. Well, look, we're gonna wrap it up. I put the link for, I forgot to do my Testosil commercial, but free bottle of Testosil, everybody. If you can't see the fucking jacked action right here from what's going on this side of things with Testosil, testosterone booster, you can get $10 off and a free bottle by clicking that link. It's pinned in the top of the chat, or use the promo code GreenBean. And if you buy 2 bottles, you get 2 free bottles. So guys, there's not a better deal out there. And if you don't like it, you get your money back. Come on now. Go ahead and get it going like GreenBean is, dude. I'm going to be a house. You'll see. I'll be fucking throwing people around at the stadium shortly. You'll see. We're going to throw people over the top. That's our tradition.
Future linebacker for the Jets.
That's right. Yeah, we're going to go, hey, we have a 54-year-old linebacker coming in, GreenBean. He's got to slow down on the Testosil. But yeah, man, anyway, it's in there. So if you want to get in on that, you can. It's a great deal right now. The link is pinned in the top of the chat. It's also in the description of the video if you're watching this after the fact. But that all said, I want to thank you. Jeremy, you got anything coming?
Talking Jets with you, man. Just at 6:00 p.m. Eastern. Don't forget to join GreenBean and I for the watch party, and maybe Finnegan will be there. Maybe even Gunny will want to come in.
Who knows?
Okay.
Right? We're watching Jets, everybody. Come and hang out with us. Finnegan, you want to say anything before we wrap it up?
Want people to buy the tickets to the Chargers game so they can watch you throw me over the railing.
That's right. There it is. Finnegan's first up. And and the link to the Talkin' Jets website is in the description of this video as well. That's where you would make the purchase for the ticket buy. We also have, there's different packages. If you already have tickets, you want to tailgate with us, if you want to do the whole thing, it's all in there. And we would love to have you hang out with us. Gunny, what's going on?
Hey, listen, just dropped my AFC East prediction video. Getting some really good feedback on that one. So if you haven't had a chance to see it, take a look at it. Let me know what you guys think. And the breakdown of every game the Jets are going to win this season video is in the works and should be live as of this weekend as well. So, those are the immediate things in the future. And then I got to get prepped for a lot of fantasy football leagues because those drafts are coming next week.
All right, dudes. Well, there it is. GreenBean Jets Pod 127 is out now on GreenBean Jetsfan. As you guys see, I'm over here a lot these days because I'm in YouTube jail, but I'm still releasing videos over there on my YouTube page. But our live streams are hanging out over here till at least October 2nd. I'll tell you that. So with that all said, I hope everyone has a wonderful evening, and we will see you next time.
Yeah, here we come, baby. Here we come. Here come the Jets, man.
I want to kiss you.
Thanks, Joe.
You want to run or you want to duck down? You want to duck, just go over there and get onto the bench and stay there.
You play to win the game.
My message for the fans, we're all frustrated with where we are right now.
Jets, Jets, Jets.